All right, welcome everybody. We are joining you at noon Central Standard Time. It's another Saturday, so we are going to do another hour of Arbitrage Q&A. My name is Eric Abbey. I want to welcome you with us, and I want to welcome our special guest, Regina Robinson. Regina, say hello.
Hey everybody, how's it all going?
We are ready to get active talking about arbitrage. Both Regina and I sell on Amazon and have just found over the years that it's been a good opportunity for us to expand margin in our budget. And so that's why we're coming to you today, one, to answer your questions and to discuss what arbitrage is, and two, to just prompt you a little bit and see if this is something, if you're not already doing or exploring, that you might want to consider for yourself. And so I'm wondering, what would you do if you could generate $100 or $200 a month in profits to add to your budget? What would that allow you to do? Would you be able to double down on your debt? Maybe put extra money towards the payment on your truck? Would it allow you to save to the side so that you could take your family on a vacation of some kind? Would it allow you to save so that you could buy a new and more dependable car for your family? What is it? And then if you were able to go beyond $200 a month and maybe make $500 a month or $1,000 a month, when you dream, what would you use that money to do? And all I'm here to do is to suggest that if you sell on Amazon as a third-party seller and use the arbitrage method, that can be your reality. You can find success and be able to do that yourself. Regina has found that it has worked for her. I've found that it's worked for me. It wasn't something that came quick and easy for us. It took work. It took a thoughtful approach. And we've learned to make calculated decisions that you can be confident in. So if an item's going to sell or not, kind of how quickly it's going to sell and what kind of margins you'll make. And so you can really have a thoughtful approach and genuinely build a business. That's what we've found. And it's fun to be able to set goals and then check those goals off. And so 5 years ago, when I started selling on Amazon, I was under a pile of debt. I had a good job that I was thankful for, but I had no room. I had barely enough room to just take care of my budget and no extra room to breathe. And I felt that. I felt the burden and the weight of always having to pinch pennies. Again, my wife and I, our family, we weren't going without. Far from it. We had plenty, but we just didn't have room. And I never could figure out how to save money in order to buy the next thing that I felt like we needed. We weren't owning a home, we were renting, so I wasn't building equity, and I just was trying to think about ways that I could, figure that out. And when I started realizing that arbitrage, which is just a simple concept of finding a product at a low price in one market, purchasing it, and then turning around and selling it at a higher price in a different market, you're just taking advantage of that market difference and leveraging a commodity. And it could be anything. It could be a stuffed toy. It could be some razors that I bought recently, and you're buying them at a low price at a discount here, and then through the Amazon marketplace, you're able to sell them at a profit, really to a global audience, or at least in my case, a North American audience. And so, some man who lives in rural Idaho could buy these from me in a matter of days after I found them in Vermont, and maybe he's willing to pay a premium price where I just found them on a discount rack, and that's how I make money. And if I multiply this by 100 products or 1,000 products, then I'm multiplying my profits. So I see that some folks are starting to join on the chat. I want to encourage you to ask your questions. Regina and I want to interact with you. If this is something that you're hearing for the first time and you're thinking, gosh, I'd like more information on that, I'd like to really think about whether or not that would suit me, then let me encourage you to click the link below in the description. Regina and I are both coaches for a membership called Amazon Arbitrage Mastery. We're coaches for Just One Dime, and we're excited about Just One Dime. Regina and I are members of Just One Dime, and Just One Dime's been a help to us and an encouragement to us. I had sold for 2 years or so, and then Just One Dime began for the first time, and I got on board early. And even though I was an experienced seller, they helped me to learn and figure things out that I had never considered before. And it was well worth the money that I chose to invest. And so click the link below and check that out. Give our memberships a try. Put in questions in there if you've never really thought much about this and you just have some introductory questions. This is what we're here for. We want to talk about the basics of arbitrage and the basics of selling on Amazon. And if some of you are doing it, have been doing it more regularly and have some more in-depth questions, we usually do our best to address those as well, although we don't claim to know everything by any means. I just feel like I'm a regular guy putting one foot in front of the other, trying to figure out how to provide for my family and care for my family. And by God's grace, I've been able to do that. So keep joining us and keep asking questions. Omar, I see you. Lindsay, Boohoo Pesh Girl, Maurice, welcome aboard. Hello. Lindsay's in beautiful British Columbia. It's probably cold there. It feels cold in Vermont. I would imagine it's cold there. We will get to questions in a couple minutes. Regina, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you've been up to, and maybe even say some specific things as to what got you started doing arbitrage.
Yeah. So I've been selling on Amazon for about 3 years. And when I started selling Amazon, you learn about it, you read about it, and you can get in there and you can jump in, and you can get your listings going. You got a good start. Then all of a sudden, for myself, I realized that I'm doing okay, but I know I could do better. But I realized real quickly that I couldn't do it without help, because there's just so much about Amazon that's very detailed, and a lot of back information and how they operate, how they function, all their metrics and everything. So I realized fairly quickly that I knew I couldn't do it alone, that I needed help. I needed coaching. I needed something that I could contact with people or connect with other people to be able to get that information to make me better. And that's how I found Just One Dime. So I've been with them for a couple of years now. I've been a coach with them going on a year. And it's a good organization that just gives us the information that we need. But what's best about the Just One Dime and why I'm still here and I'm still doing it, I still learn every day. I learn from people. I learn from Eric, who's been doing it for 5 years. I've been doing it for 3. I learn from new people coming in because they have encountered something different or a different story. And we all experience something different all the time. And that's what's great. So we have our community that we can actually talk to, and we can actually ask questions of each other. And you may ask one question and you'll get information from 5 different people that are just 5 different ways to do the same thing. And then you get to choose. So a lot of it's just sharing and getting to know each other. And you do get to know the people in the group. You recognize the names, and the annual conference too. You actually get to meet them face to face. It's actually pretty cool. So yeah. So I knew I needed help. Just One Dime's been able to help me make me better.
Yeah, and I think the community is probably the best part of Just One Dime. It really is a place of friendship and mutual helping one another, and that's from the top down. So, as coaches, we are really excited to help new members, but we find that members are able to help us at times, and we help each other as coaches, and it's just really fun to be in a community like that. So in addition to all the course material, I mean, there's over 100 videos as a part of the main course that's going to teach you everything from the introduction and basics to doing arbitrage to doing a deep dive on tools you can use and how to troubleshoot problems. We try to give weekly updates on current events and stuff like that. In addition to all that, you've got this great community. And one of the best things about the community is you're troubleshooting obstacles. And I know if any of you have sold on Amazon for any amount of time, you've encountered obstacles. I could even step back and say, if any of you have tried to start a business, you've run into a lot of different challenges, and there always comes times in doing your business where you're kind of forced to ask, do I want to keep doing this or do I want to quit? And I think that's just normal. That's normal business. I have friends who own businesses, and there's times when they're just putting in a ton of hours per week, or there's times when machinery is breaking down. There's times when employees are giving them difficulties. Something about their business model isn't working. There's just all kinds of things that come at you. And I like selling on Amazon because there's a lot of that we don't have to deal with. You don't have a brick and mortar store. I don't have hours I have to keep. The online marketplace works all the time when I'm not present in one location or another. And there's just a lot of advantages to it. But then there's unique challenges that you have to absorb as well. So I thought I would take a couple minutes. And I want to welcome, more and more questions. So fill those up. We'll get to those in a second. But I wanted to take a minute and just talk a little bit about the threat of account suspensions and what you do if your account does get suspended. There's just been, as far as I can tell, a buzz about that in Q4 with Amazon. Amazon is facing massive challenges in trying to figure out what to do with their own difficulties in having so many third-party sellers. And so I think a lot of people around the world are realizing that they can join Amazon as third-party sellers and do shifty business, and they can jump on branded listings and offer counterfeit products and try to make a quick buck. And because there are a lot of people doing that, Amazon's getting flack for bad customer service. Customers are ordering authentic Nike shorts and then getting a pair of knockoffs, and obviously none of us would be happy about that. And so there's a ton of customer complaints regarding quality of product, and Amazon cares more about customer service than anything else. That's kind of their lead foot and always has been, and it's part of why they're such a successful platform. So they have to figure that out. Amazon's been challenged with having to navigate that. Third-party sellers, at the end of 2017, Amazon published a report for the first time that third-party sellers had generated more revenue for Amazon than Amazon itself. That was now almost 3 years ago. So 2018 was the same. Third-party sellers made even a greater majority, and I'm sure 2019 is the same and probably greater. And so they don't want to just throw away the concept of using third-party sellers, but they've got to figure out how to deal with counterfeiters and folks that are doing business without integrity. And then if you're trying to do business with integrity, you can get caught in the middle, because brand rights owners have been given more room to file complaints and to leverage their position against infringements and trademarks and copyrights. And Amazon's doing that to try to protect brand rights owners as sellers. But then in arbitrage, it can be a challenge. So we get questions a lot of times, is Amazon going downhill and into a bad place? And I don't think that's the case. Amazon continues to grow, and third-party sellers continue to grow and find great success. So I don't think the answer is to say, well, Amazon's going the way of the dinosaur or something. That's not true. Or is arbitrage being threatened? And I'm not sure that's the case either, because I think as long as you're doing business with integrity, people have been doing arbitrage for centuries. It's not as though this is some new thing that we've come up with. They've done it with commodities from crops to silk all the way up to retail. So I don't think that's going to just disappear. Amazon's just got to figure out how to deal with all this. And so what that does is challenge us with having to deal with IP complaints, issues regarding intellectual property. And so here's the first thing. If you sell on Amazon, you need to make sure that you're keeping track of your account health. And so if you look on Seller Central and you scroll down halfway on the left-hand side, there it says account health, and that's a button that you can click and you can monitor whether or not you have any defects on your account health. And every time there's a complaint and a defect gets registered, Amazon's going to send you an email. So as long as you're tracking your emails and watching your account health, you can see if something comes up. And if you get an intellectual property complaint, you've got to address it immediately and do your best to resolve it swiftly. And that might not be easy. I've interacted with a ton of our members. I've interacted with a lot of different people on IP complaints and account suspensions, and I've dealt with my own IP issues. And in all of it, you've got to work really hard to try to resolve those, and they don't always get resolved easily. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and you've got to be willing to persevere. But what you don't want to do is ignore it. So that's the first thing, is keeping track of your account health. Secondly, there's been a big buzz about fourth quarter account suspensions. So I just wanted to address this a little bit. And I want to start, I think, by showing you guys an article that I've seen in several different venues. So I'm going to share my screen and have you take a look at this, and keep the questions coming, because we're going to get to those shortly. So in a minute, you'll see our good friend Jeff. And the account headline here says, suspended Amazon sellers are being stifled by an email glitch as holidays loom. And the article kind of breaks down this idea. I'm not convinced there's a glitch. I don't really think that's what's going on. But let's just take a look at the article. With just over 3 weeks until Cyber Monday, Amazon's busiest shopping day of the year, some suspended sellers are finding it impossible to get reinstated in preparation for the holiday rush because of an apparent glitch. Now, I've talked to enough people to know that suspended sellers are having a very difficult time getting reinstated. I don't think it's really because of a glitch. I don't know why it would be. I think it has more to do with the fact that Amazon's between a rock and a hard place, and they're really having to figure out how to solve this issue. And it's not always easy for them to discern between people who are selling with integrity and people who are not selling with integrity. But the article goes on to say third-party merchants who account for the bulk of volume on Amazon's marketplace, which is what I was mentioning a minute ago, can get suspended for a number of different reasons, often to have to do with infringement claims, legitimate or not, from rival sellers, or to be more accurate, from brand rights owners. But sellers who are trying to contact Amazon about a suspended account or product listing say they're being redirected to resubmit their appeal through Amazon's account health website. That method also fails, resulting in sellers being sent the exact same emailed response. So this is an email you might get, in the past, to appeal a suspension. Everyone's always been directed to submit emails to notice-dispute@amazon.com, and there's been a couple other emails that you can use. And now, a lot of times, if you do that, you get this response here that I've highlighted in blue that says it's not the correct channel to submit your appeal. And this article is suggesting that's a glitch. I don't think it's a glitch. I think Amazon has a system now whereby you submit all your appeals to seller performance, not through the email, but through your Amazon Seller Central. And so that's what they're doing, is they're redirecting you in this instance to do that. So now they represent one Amazon merchant who has sold goods for 10 years, according to this, told CNBC that he spoke with an employee from Amazon's account health support team who confirmed the email was a bug that first appeared on Wednesday. Now, let me stop and say a word about Amazon's account health support team. This is a new team. This is something that's only been created by Amazon recently. I don't know how new it is, but I know that when I had my account suspended in the past, which it's happened for me, there was no account health support team. So you had seller performance, the seller performance team that made the decisions regarding your appeals, and they were like the man behind the curtain. You couldn't really contact them. You can send them an email, but you're not going to get a personal response, and they have no phone number. And then the third-party seller was down here trying to just imagine what seller performance was expecting. What Amazon has done is created an intermediary team called the Account Health Support Team, and they're actually accessible by phone. You can get a hold of a link, and when you go to that link, you can put in your phone number, and they'll call you, and you can have a real-time conversation with somebody that really pretty well understands your situation. And so I've had conversations with the Account Health Support Team, and they understand where third-party sellers are coming from, and they try to represent Amazon Seller Central. And so that's what that team is and what they do, and they're pretty good to talk to. Though, as I've interacted with a lot of third-party sellers, they still aren't able to really sufficiently represent seller performance in a way that's satisfying. It's still a bit of a mystery what seller performance expects when it comes to the details of submitting appeals to get accounts reinstated. The article goes on to say the seller who asked not to be identified to preserve his relationship with Amazon was able to settle the complaint with a brand and submitted a plan of action, which is a necessary step to get reinstated, and I'll show you that in a minute. That's when the message arrived from Amazon saying the seller was not using the correct channel. Now look at what an Amazon spokesperson said in this paragraph. In a statement, an Amazon spokesperson said the emailed response was not due to a technical error, and added that the company encourages sellers to file their appeals through the Seller Central portal. But the spokesperson didn't address why sellers who submitted their appeals through Seller Central were still receiving the technical error. I think what they're trying to do is get people to submit through Amazon Seller Central. And so this is an example of what the page looks like when you're suspended. It'll say right here, Amazon has suspended your account. Please refer to the email from Amazon to learn more about the status of your account. So if you get suspended, you get a specific email from Amazon that states that your account has been deactivated. It tells you what ASIN that's in reference to. And in generic terms, it will tell you why your account was suspended. It'll say you neglected an IP complaint, maybe. If it was an IP complaint, it'll tell you what that specific IP complaint was, maybe a copyright, maybe a trademark. You have a few tracks to run on to submit an appeal, although they don't go into detail. Now, if you click here where it says read more, you'll have an opportunity to appeal the deactivation and to reactivate your account. And this is the page that it takes you to where it says reactivate your account. And you need to create a plan of action. And so this is the simple outline of what you need to do if you're trying to reactivate a suspended account. You have to write what the root cause of the issue was. You received the brand owner's complaint in regard to intellectual property, for example, and maybe why you think that happened, the actions you've taken to resolve the issue, and then the steps that you've taken to prevent the issue going forward. You add any receipts or invoices and documents, and you can actually then submit all of that in order for Amazon to receive the appeal and to process the appeal, and then they'll tell you if you've been reactivated or not. Now, the challenge that a lot of people are facing is that they submit the appeal even through that correct channel, and they just get a kind of a flat response from Amazon saying we need more information. And I know from a lot of sellers that can be extremely frustrating because you just don't know what they're looking for. And so now you're trying to shoot in the dark. You can resubmit a second appeal, but how do you improve upon the first one? And that's where that account health support team can come in handy, and you can talk to them. They'll actually read through your appeal, and they'll tell you, well, I don't think they'll tell you exactly why it was deficient, but they'll try to give you some understanding as to why it was. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because I know there's a big fourth quarter buzz about this, and I don't think that there's some sort of cyber glitch that's just causing all the chaos. I think Amazon's really having to figure out what to do about this problem, but who knows? I don't really know exactly what's going on. I know that the seller performance team is a little mysterious, and I know this is being a big deal for a lot of third-party sellers. So I at least wanted to bring the issue up and try to address it. I don't think it's a reason for you to just avoid selling on Amazon or avoid doing arbitrage, but I think you want to be on top of it and you want to address what you're doing. When we do arbitrage on Amazon, if you're finding products that match the listing precisely, you can sell all kinds of brands. If Amazon hasn't restricted you from selling the brand, you're able to sell, and all that you're doing is completely legal. It's protected by the first sale doctrine. It's protected by the fair use doctrine. These are established legal facts that allow you to sell a legitimate branded product under a listing that accurately describes it. So I don't think you need to be scared to sell on Amazon or to get started. I think you want to be educated and manage your expectations to know these complaints are going to come and you need to address them swiftly and carefully. And if you're out there and you're in a situation where your account is suspended, go through the appeal process the way Amazon wants you to go through it, and reach out to get help from other people, because it's tough if you're trying to do it by yourself. Well, that's enough of me talking. I wanted to introduce that because it's just such an important topic, and I want to turn a little bit to the questions that we have, and I want to encourage you to continue to submit questions. So the first question we have is kind of a private label question, but I'll throw it at you, Regina. You can take a whack at it. Just keep it brief, and we're going to focus on arbitrage. But the question is there any way you can restrict other people to come to your listing? Maybe explain why I'm saying that's a private label question, and then just answer it briefly.
Yeah, that's more private label, because when you're doing arbitrage, the goal of arbitrage is you're going to be buying those products that already have a listing that other people are selling on. And that's why you don't have to go through and build a listing from scratch. And that's the beauty of arbitrage, is that it's easier. Are you getting your products? You check to make sure the product is good. You list it and you send it in. And that way you can have a product that can have 2 sellers, 20 sellers. It all depends. When you get to private label, though, whole different category where you're actually getting products that you're going to perhaps build or to buy that are just for yourself, just for you. You might have your brand name on it, whether it's trademarked or not, and you're going to sell it that way. It could be a product that you were having personally designed and molded and all. It's a whole nother ballpark as far as what you're doing with private label. Okay. And that way you can launch private label product. You launch one, but you're selling it by hundreds of items that you're trying to get in stock and that you're going to sell. Where Arbitrage, you'll have 3, 4, 5, maybe 20. Here on private label, you're getting hundreds. So she's asking, is there a way to restrict other people come into your listing? If your listing is yours, you've built it, it is your brand name, and you have other people on there selling it with you, then you can contact Amazon. Almost the same thing what Eric was talking about. You can file a complaint with Amazon saying, listen, this is my listing, this is my brand name. I have somebody in there selling the same product with my brand name, and file a complaint with Amazon. Now the question is did they buy that product from you and they're trying to resell it like an Arbitrage? Or did they go to a manufacturer and manufacturers themselves and basically copied everything you've got, which is that's the biggest problem. And that is something that they will get an IP complaint through Amazon if you can prove that you are, that is your brand. Now, if you got your own brand also, the services that Amazon offers a brand registry that helps to protect you, and it makes it easier for sellers to kick hijackers off. And that's the part of the brand registry. And that might be playing some of that into the IP complaint too, I think. But
yeah, I mean, what you're describing exactly is what Amazon's trying to deal with is these illicit hijackers that hop on listings that the brand has created and they're selling knockoffs. They're not selling that brand. They're selling something that they just had supplied from them from China or manufactured in China, and it has no brand integrity because it doesn't match the brand that's being sold on the listing. Now, if you've created a private label brand and somebody hops on there and is selling, 50 units of your item, they didn't buy 50 units of your item, they're a hijacker, you want to complain and you want to get them off your listing because they're violating the law, they're violating Amazon policies. Now, if they buy one of your products and then they turn around and sell it on Amazon, there's nothing you can do about that. It's a legitimate sale because they're selling an actual product that matches the brand you put on your listing. So obviously huge brands like Nike, they can't run around and control, there's resellers all over the place that are selling legitimate Nike brands. And some of them are authorized distributors that Nike has a special relationship with, others aren't. And as long as they're actually selling Nike, all of them are conducting legal business that's protected by law, and they're fine doing what they're doing. But Regina's right. That's kind of where the issue comes up with Amazon, because you've got so many problems with hijackers and counterfeiters. And when you're trying to brand your own product from a private label perspective, then you feel it from the other side, because you don't want all these people abusing the system and taking advantage of your listing and selling garbage products that's going to negatively affect your brand. Because if you create a good product and you're selling it and somebody else sells a knockoff that's junk, the customer can't discern. They don't know if it's your brand or not. And so it kills your brand reputation. And so brand rights owners out there are furious about that, and they should be. But Amazon's got to figure out how to identify the counterfeiters and the hijackers without wiping out the sellers who are doing business with integrity. And there's the rub. That's the challenge for Amazon, and why I can at least understand the context for why Amazon's in a difficult place trying to figure this out. I know that I sell with integrity. Amazon doesn't know that. And I'm sure that hijackers and sellers that are doing a illicit business are going to pretend that they're selling with integrity. They're not going to just go, "Oh, you got me." They're going to create all kinds of appeals that sound really good. So Amazon's got to figure out how to deal with this issue.
Yeah.
Yasuo says, I hope Eric's clock has been sold. I didn't bring the clock because I didn't have Alan on the show with me. I've got this, Regina, I don't know if you know it, but I got this little deal with Alan going. I bought an experimental product in Arbitrage thinking I could do some fancy work and sell it, even though the statistics weren't really good. And Alan challenged me on it a little bit, although he thought it would sell. But the bad news is I haven't sold one yet. So we'll see. Maybe before the year's over. Lindsay's asking about used books selling. What would you say about that, Regina? Can you sell used books on Amazon? Are books a thing of the past now? What would you say?
Actually, books are a big seller. If you remember Amazon, how did they start out building Amazon? Was selling books, okay? And selling their own books is a huge business for them. When you're looking to sell books, and I've sold books, I only sell new ones, though, not used ones, but there are plenty of people that sell used ones as well. The most important thing is to go onto Amazon, and I think you'll find it in the university. You have to learn about conditions of books, and you have to learn how to describe them accurately, okay? They're very specific on how it is. You look at the condition based on what they're looking for, and then you listed whether it's, of course, new and then used, and then what condition, very good and medium. I forget exactly how they describe it because I don't sell used books. But if for some reason you are describing your used books better than what is there, then that's going to be a big problem with Amazon. They're going to restrict you from selling books. But yeah, you can definitely sell used books on there. Go on there and see what the rankings are. Just understand that BSRs for books are completely different than any other category. You could have a ranking in 1 million that's a BSR of 1 million, and that's actually dependent upon the category in that book, could actually be a really good ranking. So normally in arbitrage, you'd see 1 million, and you know that you would never sell that product. Books are different.
Well, and the reason books are different is there's just so many books for sale on Amazon. So books is an enormous brand.
Yeah.
So remember, we recommend to focus on a BSR that's less than 2%, preferably in the best world, less than 1% of whatever the category is. But depending on what category you're in, the BSR might look better or worse. And so if you're in toys and games and you see a BSR of 150,000, you're probably in pretty good shape, because even though 150,000 sounds like a huge number and it's big, the toys and games category is really, really a large category. And that BSR will indicate that you can make a good number of sales. Now, like I showed on the program last week, and you can go back and look at the replay from November 9th, I talked about using FBA Toolkit and showed you how you can use FBA Toolkit. I think it was in last week's program, to find out exactly how many have sold in the last month using the BSR in a given category. And so that can be really helpful. But if you go to like the baby category and find a number of 150,000, it's going to mean a whole different thing, because the baby category is much smaller. And so to get under 1%, you need a much smaller BSR. So Regina is right. And the reason for that is books is just this huge, huge category. So I think, Lindsay, there's a ton of room to sell books. And of all the items and all the categories on Amazon, books are probably one of the better categories for moving used products, because it just seems like there's a lot of people selling used books. People like to get a deal on a readable book. They don't really care necessarily if it's in mint condition. That's often the case. It can be harder to sell used products in other categories. Not a lot of people are going on Amazon looking for used electronics. It's much more difficult to sell there. You can sell used products. I think it's more challenging to win the buy box if you're up against a bunch of brand new conditioned products. If you're dealing with a collectible, that might be a good place to sell. Ryan, glad your audio is up and working. Bring us your questions. Let's see what else we got here. Here says, what happens if I sent in 100 units to Amazon, sell all of it before I sent in more? Do I lose my ranking, and does it start from scratch again? Again, that's really a private label question. And here's, I guess, my reasoning for that. Typically in arbitrage, we recommend working in small quantities and doing a wide variety of products. And usually you're only finding a limited quantity of products, because like when I found these razors, these blades that were a really good deal. I mean, I bought these for, I can't remember, really cheap, like $2 or $3, and they're selling for $19.95 on Amazon. So, I mean, the ROI on these is insane. It's hundreds and hundreds of %. But I only found 4 of these. That's all they had in the store. So I bought all 4 and went on my merry way. But the margin as big as it was, and the BSR was good, I'd have bought 20 if they had them. They just didn't have them. So a lot of times in arbitrage, that's what we're dealing with. Excuse me. You're finding a limited quantity of products because they're deeply discounted, and you're moving on. So in Mahir's question, if she's sending in 100 units to Amazon, selling all 100 units, and then needing more, she's either doing wholesale, or it sounds like in her question, she's doing private label. She's talking about her own private label product because she's worried about losing ranking. One of the nice things with arbitrage is you're working with other sellers to sell popular products, and you can come and go from a listing, and the BSR is going to stay because there's all kinds of people selling that product, and it's a popular product that's going to sell consistently. So here in the private label world, you're right. If you don't send in more units and you're not making sales, your listing is going to lose rank, and that's going to be a bad thing for you. It doesn't start from scratch again, but the more time you go not making sales, your personal BSR is going to go up, and you're going to lose prominence among your competition. So you really don't want that to happen. But again, in the arbitrage world, we're not worried about that. We're not talking about our listing, because we're using already existing listings to sell products that we're finding at a discounted rate, and we sell them pretty quick and we move on to other listings. We're doing that with a lot of products, not a huge quantity of one specific product. And that doesn't mean, we're far from being against private label or against wholesale. We think those are successful ways to sell on Amazon as well. And a lot of our Just One Dime members are doing multiple things. They're doing private label, they do some wholesale, they do arbitrage. Maybe they favor one over the other, but a lot of them are doing all of them together. What we're talking about right here is arbitrage. And in that world, one of the nice things about arbitrage is you're not worrying about getting your listing to rank. You're just finding listings that already have a good BSR. Anything?
Eric, I want to add to that too is that this is actually a very common question that's asked in the community for Just One Dime, because it can be a little confusing. And that's what's another part that's great about the community at Just One Dime and the membership, is being able to ask anybody these questions. And you're going to have members in addition to coaches that will respond back to you. And also get individual coaching that can also respond to you. So this is like a perfect question that is actually answered quite a bit in the group. So, and Eric can put down the private label link if you don't have one already. I know by the arbitrage, you can do that later and you can find it.
Yeah, the private label link is in the description below. If you look down there, it's called Amazon FBA Mastery. And so we have a lot of members that they're members of both the arbitrage membership and the Amazon Amazon FBA Mastery. That's the name of our membership for private label, and they're doing both. And a lot of times arbitrage works as a nice foundation. You generate some quick capital that you can then invest into your private label efforts. And they work really nicely together. They dovetail nicely for a lot of our members. So check that out. That's a good point, Regina. Hello from New Zealand. Interesting information from New Zealand complaints. Eric, follow up, because I'm not sure what you mean. If you have interesting information or if there's something unique going on in New Zealand, I'd love to hear about it. Amina says, I remember 2 years ago listing books and someone stole or scraped my listings. What really happened? I don't understand what that means. Do you, Regina?
I think what she's talking about is you may have you may have listed those books with a listing that you built yourself. If you did, then for whatever reason, whoever was selling it or someone at Amazon said, no, there was just too many listings out there perhaps, and they took it down. That could be. It's hard to tell exactly because it's a big situation. But Amazon will do that too if they feel that the listing is not going to be good or there's too many duplicates, because you will see a lot of duplicates out there when you're doing your arbitraging. So that's probably what happened. It's hard to tell from just not a whole lot of information.
Yeah, and a lot of times if there are duplicate listings, Amazon merges the listings. And so if there's two listings that are identical, they don't really want that. They'll bring them together. And sometimes that'll be what happens. So there's really no, it's against Amazon terms of service. If you see a listing, like say you're restricted in listing a product here, you don't want to take that product and relist it under some different category so that you can sell it. That's a no-no. And there's a lot of reasons why those multiple listings get created illicitly like that. And so sometimes if you jump on one of those, what Amazon will do is either get rid of it or merge it. And that might be what your experience was. That certainly happens. Haley's asking a question about our membership. Is the Just One Dime course easy to follow? And if you get stuck, how quick are they to respond to your messages? My experience, again, I'm promoting it because my experience has been really good with it. With Just One Dime, my experience has been great. I do think it's easy to follow. We start from the very basics. If you've never even set up an Amazon account before, we're going to walk you through how to do that. And we're going to take you all the way to what are the deep kind of drilled down questions about how do you use this one tool to figure out what you need to do. And that's true for both our memberships. They're easy to follow. They're step-by-step. Everything's done in videos. You can rewatch the videos. You can go back and watch earlier videos to pick up stuff that you might have missed. And everybody in the membership is working through the same video material. And so absolutely, there's really good response. One, you can get a lot of clarifying questions out there and get answers to those. If something doesn't make sense to you, you can get follow-up. The coaches are following up. And so all the authors of the content are helping you to understand what they're communicating. And as things change with Amazon, the coaches are weighing in on how that's the case. Other sellers are able to help out. And that's why the community is the best thing. You're getting follow-up questions. If you're in a different location, you can find other members that are in that same location and you're working with them. And yeah, anytime you get stuck, there is pretty quick follow-up and quick response. At any time, you can email the help desk. At any time, you can get a hold of coaches. And we have multiple coaches that are really engaged. So I think, Haley, your experience would be good. It would be an encouragement to you. Check out the links below. And the community is really what you'll benefit from if you join one of our memberships, which is why we call them memberships. They're more than just a course. There's really good course material, but the real cash value is through being a member of our community.
Yeah, and Haley, you got 2 coaches right here for the arbitrage ones.
Yeah, there you go.
That do the private label. So yeah, they do get back to you. The members will as well. So
yep.
It's good.
In those memberships, there's live coaching on a weekly basis, which is a forum like this, but we do it it's member specific. So we're answering your specific questions, helping you troubleshoot your personal problems. And we go a lot deeper than we're able to on a program like this. Grace asks, hi, how do I send products directly to Amazon whenever I shop online? Well, you can't send them from the retailer, for example, Walmart.com, directly to an Amazon fulfillment center. So that's not what you do. But what we would recommend you do is find a prep center, because these products need to get prepared in order to go to a fulfillment center ready to be sold to the customer. So if it has a Walmart clearance sticker on it, or if it's a stuffed animal that needs to be put in a poly bag, or if it's an item that needs to be bubble wrapped or something, you want to prepare that product so that it's ready to go to Amazon, be in an FBA warehouse, and then go to the customer. And so you can do that yourself, or you can hire a prep center to do that work for you. And so what you would do is you would buy from a .com website. You would have it shipped to the prep center. Yeah, for a small fee, you would pay the prep center to do the preparation work, and then they would ship to the Amazon fulfillment center. So you don't have to do the work, but that would be the means of doing it, to getting it to a fulfillment center ready to sell. And we have a lot of international members who do that using .com websites, and then they sell on Amazon.com, and they're doing it from a remote location. So you don't have to live in the U.S. to do that. You can set up a U.S.-based bank account, get a U.S.-based credit card, set up your Amazon account, and do business in the U.S. And what makes that possible is a prep center. So, Regina, how would you unpack a little bit more about how prep centers work, or what you've experienced with them?
When you're looking for a prep center, you're going to want something different. A lot of people like to use states that do not have sales tax. So when you have these items shipped to that state, you're not going to pay any sales tax. However, you can easily have no problem when you're sending them to other states where there is a sales tax. And that's usually what happens. There's not many, I think there's 7 states that are tax-free. So most of them are going to be in the other states too. So you'll still pay the sales tax, and you can still deal with that with your accountant at the end of the year when that happens or whatever. But prep centers, find out what it is they do, how do they handle it, how do they get your products sent in, what is included in the price. You really want to know what they do for that fee. Every center is different. Just go and Google prep centers for Amazon and just call them and see what it is they do and how much they charge. Some will charge for every little thing, and some will just charge a flat fee that covers everything as well. Personally, I like the flat fee. I think it's easy, but everybody's different.
Very good. Let's see what else we got. Would a simple printer work for labels? Extortion watchers, welcome with us again this Saturday. Yeah, I use a simple printer. I use a Brother LaserJet printer. I just feed the labels in the top, and they do just fine. I use a laser printer so that if they get wet, they won't be disturbed. But that thing's chugged right along, and it's worked fine. What do you use, Regina?
I use a laser printer too. Yeah, you do not want to use an inkjet because the ink will smear, especially if you do an inkjet for your labels you put on the outside of the box when you ship. That gets wet, like Eric said. It could get wet, smear, and next thing you know, they can't read it. So definitely a laser.
Yeah, is Dynamo the other brand that people often use, the smaller printers?
Yeah, you can get the little Dymo machines, and you can do that. And then you got to buy the labels. If you're using the other ones, where you got the big sheets with the 2 big labels on it, you can get those for free from UPS. Open an account and get those things for free, and that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, and that's how I do it. So what you need to do is set up an account with UPS. You can't just kind of randomly go on their website, but it's not hard to set up an account. It's free to set up an account. And so when you set up your account with UPS, then you can go in and order, I don't know, I think it's 50 at a time or something. They'll send you those labels, and I just order them every now and again and keep my supply up on those big labels. Lindsay has a follow-up for you, Regina, saying a lot of people say that selling new books is a no-no. How do you do it? So I don't know why people would say it's a no-no.
Well, maybe they're telling you it's a no-no because they don't want the competition. Okay, it could be. It's probably what it is, or they've had a bad experience. I mean, just like any kind of arbitrage product, if you buy a book that whoever the author is, they say it's copyrighted, they don't want you selling it for whatever reason, they can still put a restriction on there and not let other people sell it. So that can happen on any type of product, and it may be that same thing that happened is why other people have told you it's a no-no. I only sell used books. I don't sell a ton of them. I have other things that I do as well, but I have, and they sell pretty good, I will have to say, depending on the category. I've been lucky on finding some good products.
Yeah, I sell books. I don't sell hundreds of books, but I certainly sell books when I find them. And it's like any other product. You consider the BSR, you consider the price that you can buy the product at and sell the product at, and then you go from there. And so I don't know why. I certainly wouldn't say that selling new books is a no-no. I don't think it's what it used to be. I mean, 10 years ago, if you're selling on Amazon, books were kind of the prime gig, is my understanding. And you could just do tons with books. But that was before Amazon had expanded to the extent that they have now. So, but that doesn't mean that books have fallen off and are not effective. So I sell new books. I make sure they're in mint condition. There's no writing inside. And I put them in a poly bag so that they'll stay in good condition, and so that the customer will receive it just looking good. It looks good in a poly bag, and I find that you can make really good money off those pretty consistently. So Lindsay's saying more about a quality issue. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to sell a book under the condition of new if it's not a new book, or if it doesn't look new. So, there's a lot of common sense that I think a lot of times as a customer, how would I want to receive the item? And so I'm looking at a book and I've bought books at Goodwill before and sold them as new because it looks to me like nobody's even opened to the thing. And I can kind of, come through it quickly and see that there's no marks on it. There's no tears or bent pages. The binding is tight. It hasn't been gummed up with stickers. Like, it just looks nice and new. And I know if a customer receives it, they're not going to be sideways about it. But if it's got a stain on the pages or something, then you've got to just condition it right. But as long as you're selling it as an accurate condition, I think you're in a good place. Marina asks, do prep centers remove stickers from stores? Absolutely. That would be one of the key things that they're doing. They're doing all the work to make sure that your product is prepared for Amazon. And you do want to vet your prep centers. You want to talk to them. I joke on this program and say that you want to date your prep center, because you do want to relate to the prep center. You want to know, what are they doing? Are they just in it for a business? Are they experienced Amazon sellers that know what it's like to be responsible for product? Do they really understand the system? Are they reachable and relatable? In other words, can you get a hold of them on the phone? Do they respond to your emails? If you have a problem, are you going to be able to interact with them about it? So they're doing everything, though. They're going to receive the product. They're going to make sure that it's not damaged. They're going to remove any stickers. They should. A good prep center is going to remove pricing labels, because what you don't want to do is buy a product that says $20 on it, and then you sell it on Amazon for $40, and the customer gets it and sees a discrepancy in the price. So the prep center is doing all that, and they're putting it in polybag, they're putting it in bubble wrap, whatever's appropriate to that item, and is assuring you that it's going to be prepared adequately for sale. So we have a list below of 72 prep centers. You can check that out. I personally recommend a new prep center that I'm working with up here in Vermont called AP Prep Services. So if you can go to apprepservices.com and check that out. But prep centers are great, and they're a great way to move your business forward. Let's see. Terry, glad you could join us. Give us your questions. We've got a few minutes left. Terry, if you have any thoughts or questions. Adam says, hey, if I'm looking for mentorship because I'm still learning, what is your offer? Soon I want to launch first product with your team. Are we available to talk in Skype? I'm looking for long-term. Yeah, Adam, what would suit you is our Amazon FBA membership. And there's a link in the description below that you could look to see what that entails. And I would be happy to interact with you more on it. So if you email me at eric@justonedime.com, I will promise to respond. And yeah, we might be able to figure out a Skype if you have questions about that membership or want to know what mentoring would look like. So if you're looking to launch a product, you want the Just One Dime membership called Amazon FBA Mastery. You'll see it in the description below, and follow up with me. I'll make sure to connect with you.
Yeah, the good part about the membership with that is that, who was that, Adam? Yeah, is that the mentorship you'll get through the FBA Mastery, meet with your coach, and they can hopefully evaluate your product and see if there are other questions you might need to get answered that may help you make the product better or the listing better and how to do all the other things you're supposed to do when you're trying to launch a product.
Yeah, and if mentoring is what you're looking for, the membership is a great place to be because you'll have multiple opportunities and different venues in which you can receive mentoring from all sorts of people that are experienced and can do a lot to help you. So good question. Happy to follow up with you on that. Juan Pablo says, hello guys, Amazon just required in one of my arbitrage products a children's safety certificate. Any advice? Yeah, we've run into this. A lot of sellers ran into this a couple years ago with fidget spinners. If you remember the fidget spinner craze, kids were poking their eyes out with those things and swallowing the ball bearings and doing all the stupid things that kids do. And Amazon required that those go through child safety and get certified, and that hindered a lot of sellers from doing that. So Juan Pablo, my advice would be to just remove that product and move on from it. That's the good thing about arbitrage is you've made a minimal investment. I do the same thing. If an item I'm trying to sell suddenly gets restricted or the listing gets shut down somehow, I just pull the item back. Usually it's a small quantity, and I try to sell them through eBay or Craigslist or some other venue if I have permanently been disabled from selling that item on Amazon, and I move on to find other products. So that's probably not the answer that you're looking for, but I mean, what you don't want to do is go down some road of trying to figure out how to get a children's safety certificate. They're expensive. They're a big hassle. Sometimes you'll remove your product and just a matter of time passing will resolve the issue. In this case, I don't know that would be the case. Brian P. has a question I'll throw to you, Regina. What are some good stores for RA, retail arbitrage, and what are some good websites for online arbitrage?
Anything that you can come across that's going to have items that you think that you can buy at a good price and resell for the price it's listed. Seems like a generic response. It's hard to answer because there's people in so many different states and so many different countries. But I would say if I was looking for products, our first stop, I still do, is going to be some sort of bargain stores that you are going to get. Just make sure when you go in there that actually that box of whatever you're getting actually is a new item. I know sometimes I've had products I bought that were actually returned products and it wasn't new. I learned my lesson the hard way. Make sure it's new. So you can go to discount stores. Your typical Walmart, Target, things like that are very popular as well. Target does not like resellers, so just be mindful of that if you're in Target. I've heard of this. Sometimes they won't sell to you. I've not had that experience. I just hear stories. But any kind of grocery stores, I have bought things in the grocery stores on their clearance shelf somewhere they have in the store. And that actually has been very good and helpful as well. So almost any stores, I don't want to give a brand name only because maybe that brand name might be someplace else that in one state, but not in another. I mean, I hear about a store called Savers. I hear about Ollie's. I hear about, there's so many out there, even I don't know, probably over half of them too. I would say just go into any of them that you see and see what kind of products they got and see if there's something in there that you could use, that you could buy and resell. You might be surprised. Even probably some garage sales too. You can find new stuff in garage sales. So don't think you're limited to stores.
Yeah, what I would recommend, Ryan, is to just look at, if my nose is your house, just look at the stores that are in the immediate sphere around your house. And so, some of them are nationwide franchises like Home Depot and Lowe's. I mean, I do fine. I do good at stores like that. Walmart, Target. They're just kind of the obvious ones. But there are some less obvious stores that might turn out to really be a fun surprise. So I view it as a treasure hunt, and there's no store I'm not going to go to at least once. Now, I might stop in at a whole bunch of stores once or twice, and you'll be surprised. You might hit something you would have never thought to find an arbitrage deal at this store, but lo and behold, there you go. And there's these, seasons of clearance that stores go through. So I might try all the stores once now, and then maybe in 3 months, go back to some of the other stores that you haven't tried in a while and just see. Or keep your eyes open. One time I was taking my family to lunch at the Chinese buffet, and there was a little store with a couple doors down from the Chinese buffet in the same plaza that I never stopped at to do arbitrage, but they had like a sidewalk clearance cart. And my wife knows well enough now that if I'm on my way somewhere and I see that clearance, I go off and have to check it. And so she let me check it a little bit before we went to lunch. And I found deals. And that has actually that location has turned into an ongoing source of really good items for me. I never thought about going there until I saw that clearance cart. And that's sort of a good example where a ton of times throughout the year, they're not going to have anything. But then there's certain times when they move a clearance sale and you find all kinds of stuff. So I'd work that circle. And then there's even a place in retail arbitrage for looking at where are other towns, villages, or cities that might be worth taking a day trip to or something like that. And so, I'll take all the seats out of my minivan and I'll drive to a neighboring city and do some arbitrage there and come back. And that's a great way to expand your opportunities. And we haven't even talked online arbitrage. So, there's just hundreds and hundreds of websites. It's hard for us to just recommend them, but you start with the obvious ones. Go to walmart.com, go to target.com, go to these websites, and you do the same thing. You look at the clearance section of the website, the sales and discounts, and you just kind of move the same way. You could Google clearance retail or whatever, and I mean, you're just getting out there and you're getting experience trying to figure out where stuff will sell. One of the cool things about the Amazon Arbitrage Mastery membership is we give you a month of free leads that not only give you product opportunities that you can jump on immediately if you want to, but it helps you identify various websites that work and kind of expand your sphere of influence too. I personally think the cost of joining the membership can be made up just because of those leads lists that we offer to you for free for a month. And you could justify the cost of the membership just with those leads lists alone. I'm convinced of that, not to mention everything else you get. So that would be my answer. Ryan's asking, so do you think packaged food on Amazon is booming? I don't know if it's booming. Regina, do you know something about that?
Actually, groceries became ungated for, I think, everybody about maybe less than a year ago or almost a year ago. And it is a category that a lot of people are selling in because Amazon, of course, has bought Whole Foods. So they're trying to put their market, especially if it's a market in the neighborhood where they can do the 2-hour delivery. So you want to take that consideration. Absolutely. It is a market that is, I don't know if it's booming, but it's getting bigger and bigger. There's more opportunities to sell. I've sold in groceries myself. It's a matter of finding the right product. The thing you have to be careful of when you sell in groceries is knowing that expiration date, because you will have to put it in and make sure it's more than 3 months out, because in 3 months they will return it to you and you won't be able to sell it. So I go for that 120 on. as far as expiration dates. But yeah, it's a good category.
Good. One last question, Regina. Would it be smart to buy gift cards if you can get them at a discounted rate and then use the gift cards to purchase inventory?
I would. If you can get them to where the cards are not going to expire, absolutely, you can do that. Just be mindful of some cards will charge a fee every month that if you don't use it. I'm only known a Visa that does that. And after a year, all your money's gone. So if you're going to do that, you want to use the card soon. And there are some sites out there that you can get some discounted gift cards. So definitely, I would look into it for sure.
Yeah, the one website I'm aware of is called Gift Card Granny, right?
Gift Card Granny. Mm-hmm.
Is that .com?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could search on that, and then you could maybe even Google some others. I know there are websites where you can get discounted gift cards, and that'll work out too. So don't forget, I mean, Google's there. You could Google prep centers. I've recommended a website. You can Google gift card deals. I've recommended a website. Get out there and take some initiative to investigate some of that stuff. Ryan, I see something more from Ryan. It sucks up all my time doing RA. How do I cut back on looking through everything and learn how to zone in on what's hot while at the store? That's a great question, Ryan. You know, what I try to do is target the clearance sections. So, you know, when I go to Home Depot, I know where the 2 clearance end caps are, and I hit those hard. And if I'm in a hurry, I hit those and leave, and that's all I do. Same thing with Lowe's. There's clearance end caps that I hit. Walmart almost always has a clearance aisle. So that's my primary work. If I'm working for efficiency, I just hit clearance, boom, boom, boom. And then when I have a little extra time that I don't mind if I lose an hour trying to open up further opportunities, I might shop in aisles where, you know, I'm not going to see immediate clearance deals, but I think I can find products. So yeah, you do want to use your time efficiently, and that's the only way I would recommend to be able to do it. Well, we're past our hour, and I'm thankful for your questions and thankful for Regina and her help. So thanks for joining me, Regina.
Thank you so much. This was great. Let's do it again.
Yeah, we will. We'll be right here again next Saturday at 12 noon Central Standard Time. We're going to just keep doing this every week. We hope it's helpful to you guys. We wish you the best. We genuinely do. I would love for you to experience some of the freedom that I've experienced in just being able to gain some room in my budget. I'd love for you to be able to check off some of those goals, to get out of debt, to get a car, to put the down payment on a house, to travel with your family, to just maybe spend more time with your family because you're not having to work so much overtime. Whatever the issue is, I certainly wish you to have good success in anything that you're trying to do with Arbitrage and Amazon. And if our memberships can be a service to that end, then great. Check out the links below. We really want to be helpful. That's our heart. And so thanks for being with us. Join us again next week and enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye, everyone.